look back at the first day of this first Test match between England and New Zealand on a sunny day at Lord's, when New Zealand won the toss and batted first on a pitch that did have some moisture in it, certainly no more than you'd expect, or in fact indeed want, of a first day Test pitch. At one stage they were 45 for 7. Young out for 1 and Latham for 1, both openers, so they were 2 for 2, 7 for 3 when Conway was out for 3. Huge wicket for Matt Potts making his debut, the 23-year-old quick bowler from Durham. He had Kane Williamson caught by Folkes for 2, that was 12 for 4, and that set Potts on his way. He took 4 for 13 in all, Mitchell for 13, Blundell for 14. He also took Patel for 7, while Anderson also finished with 4 wickets. And then Potts wandered off. He appeared to have cramp, and he left the field midway through a spell. Stokes came on to finish off that over and took 1 wicket for 5 to finish things off. So from 45 for 7, New Zealand reached actually 132, so their last 3 wickets added 87 runs, and I wonder how important they might turn out to be. Southey made 26, de Grandon was 42 not out at the end. There's a useful 14 from Trent Boult as he added 30 with de Grandon. And then England made a really good start. They were 59 for no wicket. Crawley driving nicely, in fact, that cover drive that brings about his downfall, as well as is a big product as far as his run scoring is concerned. But then he drove fatally without getting in the right place and was caught behind off Jameson for 43. Pope up to number 3, made 7 from 27 balls. He was caught behind off Jameson. That was 75 for 2. Joe Root looked in excellent touch and actually very positive. He was very well caught by Southey in the gully off de Grandon for 11, 92 for 3. Alex Lees then decided he was going to bat way outside the off stump to Southey, who was bowling round the wicket to him. He missed a straight ball. Umpire's call, it was a close one either way, but he was LBW to Southey for 25. That was 96 for 4, 98 for 5 when Ben Stokes was caught behind off Southey for 1, 100 for 6 when Bairstow dragged on a pretty wide ball from Boult, his first over back into the attack. It went into his stumps. He was out for 1. 2 balls later, Potts, who'd gone off, of course, to a tremendous ovation for his bowling, got a second ball duck. Number 8, it was a short ball from Boult, but he didn't play it well at all, and gloved a catch to Mitchell for a duck. Folkes 6, Broad 4, hung on until the close of play, 116 for 7. It means that England are 16 runs behind, and the only thing that didn't really complete a chaotic day was that Matt Parkinson, who'd driven down the motorway system from Lancashire, called into the team to replace Jack Leach, who was concussed after fielding and tumbling over on the boundary edge. So he's out of the game. Parkinson was called in, and imagine him beginning the day nice and quiet, a little bit of breakfast at home up there in Lancashire after last night's Blast game. He'll have ended the day with his pads on up there in the dressing room, having never played for England before, wondering or not if he was going to get out there and have to bat. So it's been that sort of day, really. 116 for 7, 16 behind. Michael, I don't know if we're surprised by it or not. I mean, we've seen this a lot over the last few months.
Yeah, I think there's a few of our friends in the media that were probably scribbling around in the last hour. I think their copies may have changed from the positivity of Ben Stokes' great first day, good toss to have lost. Opening burst from Anderson and Broad was magnificent. The debutant of Matthew Potts, fantastic. They bowl New Zealand out, who are rusty, not played a lot of red ball cricket, understandably. They just look like they've not played a lot of cricket because they haven't. So you kind of looked at their 132 and go, yeah, you can understand that. And then England come out to bat and it all looks rosy, 59 for 0. You think, wait a minute, the foundation's set. From then on in, you have to say, are we surprised? No. What can they do about it? It's now just a mental job. It's now just mentality of these players, because you cannot tell me, and I'll go through them. Crawley, the big drive once again. He just played a beautiful drive through the offside where he let the ball come and he used his top hand and he guided it. He then gets the ball from Jameson. It's similar, and it just swings a little bit more. That left foot doesn't move. The ball before the left foot moves to the ball and he plays it beautifully. Why didn't it move for the next one? Big drive, he's gone. You then look
can you tell me, because you played that shot a lot. I mean, it was your trademark stroke, really, wasn't it? Extra cover drive. I'm presumably, as a batsman, you see it nice and early, your eyes light up. Oh, here it is. It's my shot. Boom, and you get yourself into place. I mean, can you go at it too hard? Are you sort of almost too excited to see the ball that seems to be in your slot?
I'm not too sure what is going through Zach's mind, because that ball, is it there to drive? Yes, if you're playing with perfect technique, but it wasn't quite there. A player that's playing really nicely and really well and mentally very strong, he's just played a beautiful shot. He's got 4. That one is just slightly shorter, just slightly wider, and it had off a bit of shape. Now, if you're playing really well, you go and go, no, it's not there, and you leave it.
Yeah.
But that left foot was a worry for me, because it didn't go towards the line of the ball, and I want to know why. Why has it stayed still?
Yeah.
Why hasn't he seen the line of the ball and the left foot goes to the line of the ball?
Is it planted? Is it just planted?
He just planted it. It didn't move, and then he had to play away from his body, his hands, eyes, everywhere. It's just all wrong. So there's the first wicket. Ollie Pope came out at number 3. I thought he looked okay. I have a concern that he looks a bit too frantic. I have a concern that he doesn't seem to really trust his technique to get in. I've seen it a lot of him in Test match cricket, where he's gone out there, he bats on rollerblades. He wasn't doing that today, but I still watched him and thought, looks a little bit too frantic. The ball that he gets, it's okay, but it's a bit timid. He's defending the ball quite wide of off stump. I'll go for that. Joe Root comes out, plays a beautiful 4 first ball, and then it's a shot that he has got out to before, that channel, that hip high outside off stump. That's where people will target him now. Yeah. Johnny Bairstow, big loose shot, leaves his technique outside off stump to de Grandhomme to start with. I didn't get, why are you batting? Why are you worried about de Grandhomme? Just bat normally. If he bowls one straight, you flick it through the onside. If he bowls one wide off stump, you smash it through the offside. Why overcomplicate the game?
Overthinking?
Yeah, I just think they're overcomplicating the game. You're facing Colin de Grandhomme. What are you worried about? And then he does it to Tim Southey, and Southey smart, wide, fast and straight, LBW. So brilliant from Southey. Johnny Bairstow, he'd played that shot that he got out to. He got away with it the ball before. It kind of missed the inside edge. Then he plays a big loose one onto the stumps. Loose. Ben Stokes, a big drive. So these are dismissals that I'm looking at. I think you could also look at the New Zealand dismissals. There's probably 1 or 2 early. Emery gets a ball that you kind of look at and think, yeah, not a bad ball early in your innings. Conway, I thought, got a decent ball from Stuart Broad. But if we're really honest, 17 wickets to have fallen on that pitch today.
It seems incredible.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's been decent bowling, very good bowling at time, but let's be honest, the batting today has been poor on both sides. And are we surprised by New Zealand? Yes, but not because they've not played a lot of cricket, but usually they find a way, New Zealand, to get a score. Are we surprised to see that from England? Absolutely not. No. And Brendan McCullum, I reckon at around 4 o'clock, he'd have been sat on that bag and I tell you what, I've got a group. I don't have to do a lot here, and I'm going to look very, very good. Well, I think in the last hour, he's seen that there's a hell of a lot of work to go into this batting unit.
Yeah, I said to Ben Stokes in that interview, I think you were listening to it as well, how do you prevent a feeling of here we go again if it starts badly? There is this positive feel about the new appointments and so on, based only really on what people have been saying. It's not based on any evidence.
Yeah.
The evidence is what we saw in the winter. Yeah. And how do you stop that feeling of, here we go again? And that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, it is, Aggers, and it's all well and good saying, everything's going to be fine, and we're going to speak to these players that have made mistakes over the last couple of years, and we'll give them a better mentality. It's now up to those individuals to find confidence and belief in themselves, because they're going to have to walk out in the second innings. Alex Lees has fought hard for a start, but then gets out technically not right. Zach Crawley's made a great start, but he's played a big shot once again, got out. Ollie Pope at number 3, it hasn't worked, so he's only had 1 go at it, but I looked at his first class averages that came on the screen today. He averages over 50 at 4, 45 at 5, or 50 at 5, 45 at 6. He's never batted at number 3, and we're now asking him to bat at number 3. Why hasn't he been batting number 3 for Surrey?
Yeah.
Surely a few weeks ago, again, if I'm a young player looking at this England side, you work things out in your career. And if I was a young player, I'd be looking at, wait a minute, Joe Root's going to, because Ben Stokes announced Joe Root's going to bat at 4.
Yep.
Ben Stokes announced he was going to bat at 6. So wait a minute, who's going to bat at 5? Well, Johnny Bairstow played well in the winter. He's not going to bat 3, so he's going to bat 5. Ben Foakes is going to bat 7. What's available? Number 3. So if I'd have been Harry Brooks, Ollie Pope, Josh Bohannon at Lancashire, any player that had been mentioned potentially have been in this Test match team, I'd have been whacking on the coach's door saying, I'm going to bat 3.
And
I have to bat
particularly
number 3.
at Surrey when it's an overseas player batting at 3.
Got to bat 3.
And Hashim Amla could bat anywhere.
Yes. Harry Brooks should have batted 3 for Yorkshire, just to give himself, if he was going to play for England, he was going to bat at number 3. So go and do it for your county for 3 or 4. It's still not enough in my opinion. I think you've got to do it for quite a while to get used to batting at number 3. You're an opening batter at number 3 because you can be out there after 1 ball of the match, which is opening the batting. So I'm surprised that they haven't done that. I have to give New Zealand a huge amount of credit because I think we'd have seen teams going at tea completely down and out of the Test match. They've not had preparation. We've seen it in Australia with England sides that, not to say they throw the towel in, but you just know from once they're just not going to get back in the Test match.
Yep.
Whereas this Kiwi side, they've got something. They found something in that last session.
They dig very deep, don't they?
They do, and they find a way, and they found a way in that last Test match and that last session to get themselves right back in this Test match. And you have to say, they've now turned the last session around so much that they'll be favourites to win this game.
Yeah, and I mean, presumably, the coach at T said to them, look at these figures, look at England's batting records over the last 18 months. Even though they're 59 for no wicket over, they're there for the taking.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why
do the right things.
That's why the start under new management is so important, because if it starts well, Ollie Pope gets a big score at number 3. Well, you can almost forget all the past because he's had this new start and everything's different. Now, that's been the worst possible start for the batting lineup, because we now are talking about what's been in the last year or two, which has been that. It's been consistently an England batting lineup that, they've had bubbles to deal with, and it's not been easy. And if you want to give them all the excuses in the world, we can do. But ultimately, that amount of talent in that dressing room, once again, has failed to deliver the talent that they've got in that dressing room.
And I know Overton's selection raised some eyebrows, but you can see why he was in the squad, because Potts doesn't look like a number 8 to me. I mean, he bowled really well, bowled as hard, and many congratulations on a debut. But that is a long tail if he's going to be batting at number 8.
Yeah, it is, and you look at the tail for New Zealand. They were looking like being bowled out for 70, and then all of a sudden they came out after lunch, played a few shots, chanced their arm, and I think the Kiwis are a smart cricket team, and they probably thought, look, we're well out of this Test match, but what do we need to do? We possibly need to be bowling today, because there might be still a little bit of moisture in the surface. So let's swing the willow. If we get bowled out for 100 quickly, well, at least we know there's still a bit of moisture in the surface, and we'll have to bowl them out for 150, 200. And it's paid off. That's what smart cricket teams do. They realise situations, moments, and they did that with the bat. They weren't at their best with the ball. For the initial 15, 20 overs, I thought the first spell of Southey was miles off Tim Southey's usual stuff. Trent Boult the same. It was Jamieson, he bowled a spell and he got his length and he got a wicket or two, and all of a sudden you could see that the next spell that Southey bowled from the nursery, it was better. It was a bit more intent. It was a better line and length, more consistent. Trent Boult, every over he bowled, you felt he was getting better and better. And this is the problem for the England side, is I think this is the week that you want to get New Zealand, because they're rusty. Yeah. And I think next week they'll be better for this week, and the week after they'll be better for the first 2 weeks. Yeah. So this is the week that I look at and thought, you could quite easily catch this New Zealand team quite cold, and they did. But unfortunately, the batting's let them down again. Yeah.
Well, if you have a team at 45 for 7, and you end up probably staring down the barrel at the end of the same day. I mean, there's something very strange gone on, isn't there?
We criticise England because we have to, but I tell you what, they're worth watching. Because you're never quite sure what's going to happen. You're never quite sure what is around the corner. I know Jeremy's just about to join us, and before we came off air, he said to me, "What has just gone on?" I said, "Welcome to watching England's Test match team over the last couple of years."
I didn't know how to describe it at all. It happened all so quickly too. Caught me by surprise.
Yeah. Thanks to you, Michael. You're stood down. Jeremy and I can just chew out. I know, but I mean,
well, you are obviously quite accustomed to it.
I'm quite used to it. I mean, I let myself down by writing a far too positive intro to my match report.
Yes,
which I've now obviously erased, and I should have thought better of that. It was with about 45 minutes to go that I started writing, as one does.
Yes,
but it is. I mean, it's exhausting. And I make that point to you that I did to Michael. I'll talk to you about New Zealand's perspective, of course. But while there has been this positive feel about things, the McCullum and Stokes and stuff, and I think because we wanted to feel something positive about what we've seen, actually, for all the talk and everything else, it's how it goes on the field, and
yeah, but it's nothing's going to change quickly, is it?
No.
You don't do that. It can't do. I mean, McCullum's been here, a week? 2 days, 3 or 4 practices. You're not going to get huge changes. He will have outlined things about the big plan, and I think the players get it. They seem quite happy, and those. But it's not about that. In the end, sport is always about results. And what surprised me more than anything, you guys weren't horrified. Well, there wasn't a shock horror look, we've just lost 5 for 8. It was,
well, we've seen quite a lot of it.
Really?
I spent 4 months away from home this winter and haven't seen England win a single game. So you do get a little bit used to it, and you want to see better. I mean,
of course.
You expect to see better, and you expect to see people working at the game. But there's been, well, it's interesting. We had quite a discussion about Pope's technique, didn't we? There, and I mean, you've got Alex Lees batting way outside the off stump and way down the pitch, and that looked a bit odd for an opening batsman who I thought, if you're, and I'm assuming all sorts of things as a batsman, but I would have thought if you're a batsman and you're comfortable with your game,
you don't need to do that.
You just bat, don't you? You don't need to be bowling too much of that. And it's for the bowler to try and work out ways of actually trying to get you out, rather than you trying to work out how you're going to face Colin de Grandhomme.
That's right.
Bowling at 75 miles an hour.
You shouldn't need to bat out there to de Grandhomme.
And Pope's off stump, again, people will be talking about that, I'm sure. He still managed to fiddle away outside the off stump.
Well, he's, in my opinion, I just see him still as a middle order player. It's hard to suddenly change, Jonathan, and he likes to hit the ball.
Yeah.
He plays length and not lines. That's his first initial thought is, I'm going to play length. Here's a drive, because that's the length of the ball, or here's a back foot punch because there's the short length of the ball. Whereas an opener looks for line first.
Right.
And that's what he's going at. Exactly.
Yeah.
A middle order player looks to hit first and then leave second, whereas that's the reverse for a natural opener. And if you are a number 3, you are. As Mike, I agree with Michael, he could be in second ball in any innings.
Yeah.
And so he needs to be both the opener, and sometimes he'll need to be a middle order player at number 3 because the openers have done quite well and you need to keep the score ticking over. That will suit him more. I thought today would suit him more after Crawley and Lees. Lees, was tucking it round and running himself out almost a couple of times in order to get off strike and to look as if he was busy and enthusiastic. Yep. That's what he was doing. But I felt that Crawley played nicely today. I saw some good shots from him, but the drive again, we've talked about that. So it was his downfall. But New Zealand.
Let's talk about New Zealand's batting, because to be fair, you would almost expect a rusty performance from a team that's only had one preparation game. They've flown in from all over the place. There's been COVID sniffing around.
Yes,
it's been a modern preparation for New Zealand, shall we say, which is inadequate, frankly, and that's the case for everybody. And England had that in Australia as well, without anything like the adequate preparation that you need to play Test cricket. You can't dabble at Test cricket.
It's too hard a game.
You can't play. It is, and I think people deserve better. There are people who are paying. We've talked about entrance prices here. If you're paying 150 quid to come and watch a Test match, you expect to see people actually ready to play, in my view.
Well, I think there's almost a responsibility, if you want to make Test matches close, which should draw, therefore, people, because it's close, more to watch the game and see what is a contest. You don't want one-sided games all the time, do you? That's not a contest. And so if the two sides are in good form together, the home side don't like to lose. I mean, it's very disconcerting to lose in front. It's like behaving badly in front of your family, So I think England don't like it. I'm sure they don't. No player likes that. But New Zealand, at the moment, it's happening a little bit too much. And it's because of the absences, I think. Someone like Williamson has played 3 of 9 tests, last 9 tests. I'm counting from when they were here last year. There have been 9 tests.
A couple of retirements too.
Retirements.
Yeah.
Bolt has only played 4 tests. Yeah. So there's been a lot of little holes here and there. Latham will have captained many more times than Williamson in the past season. So there are people doing different things.
Yeah, it is interesting. But
and today was about judgment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was about just watchfulness, organised defence, good judgment. And clearly at this stage they're not quite ready for that. Yeah. They were loose.
But to recover from 45 for 7,
yep,
having won the toss and batted first, and at the end of the day you're probably in the favoured position, that says a lot about the character of the team.
Well, it says that they've played a lot of cricket together, and it says they know in certain circumstances we've got nothing to lose about this. And yes, it could be that nothing's going to happen to the pitch if we get out quickly and get some runs. If we're out, we can use that pitch as well. That's a good cricket strategy. I think they can do a little bit better, frankly. I don't like to see de Grandhomme left hovering on 40 whatever it was not out, and not forming partnerships. The 8, 9, 10 and 11 were whacking the ball and getting, you know what I mean. I think I'd like to see more partnerships.
Let's just catch quickly Matthew Potts, who's with Alison Mitchell.
Score a few with the bat and get off the mark in Test cricket. But yeah, I've had an absolutely wonderful day and enjoyed every second of being here.
Any nerves this morning?
I thought I was actually quite collected today, at the top of my mark before my first ball. I thought I was kind of focused and controlled, but I'd imagine there was a few nerves deep down, yeah.
And how were you prior to the 5th ball that you bowled?
Absolutely over the moon, yeah. After that, yeah, I was absolutely brilliant, yeah. We were settled in. It's one of those where a wicket or a couple of nice balls early on kind of settles your rhythm, lets you flow into your work, really. And it was nice to get a wicket, and after that, just plain sailing, really, after putting the ball in the right area.
Not just any wicket, though. You got Kane Williamson. Did you have a particular plan to him?
Look, I was trying to translate what I've been doing for Durham really well, which has been hitting the pitch hard with the wobble seam, an occasional ball with a bit of swing on. And I just tried to put it in a good area really hard with a bit of pace behind it and looked for a false shot, really. Just happened that wobble kind of nipped away and it was a nice ball, and Folksy with the gloves took a brilliant catch.
Drawing upon your own experience, you've also got a lot of experience in this England dressing room as well. Have you drawn upon the likes of Stuart Broad and James Anderson as well? Yeah,
I mean, they've been great to kind of have chats around bowling with. They've obviously got their own plans that they like to go with, but just having those kind of guys around you to ping a few ideas across just to keep you going. I mean, you look around and you've got nearly 1,200 Test wickets around there. So, yeah, it's great to pick the brains of them, and it's been very, very beneficial for me in the training days as well, just to kind of watch how they go about their business and what they kind of look to do bowling at batsmen. So, yeah, it's been very good to be able to pick the brains of them.